Welcome back to another episode of Life in Ancient Rome. Three of Roman citizens' favorite pastimes included the Roman Colosseum, the Circus Maximus, and public baths, such as the Baths of Titus, the most famous. We will begin today by visiting the Roman Colosseum for a virtual tour. So the Roman Colosseum, which still stands today, at least most of it, it was damaged badly by an earthquake. In its glory days, it had statues and openings all around the Colosseum. Today, the statues are no longer there. Presumptively, they were stolen throughout history due to value and worth. But anyhow, Roman Colosseum was basically the world's first sports arena. Or one of the world's first sports arenas. Definitely the most famous. And Roman citizens would attend the Colosseum for a wide variety of festivities. The most well-known were for gladiator duels. And gladiators were typically slaves, prisoners of war, people who owed money. But there were some gladiators who were free people and simply chose to fight because winning gladiators became very popular and they were basically like rock stars in ancient Rome. Besides gladiator duels, the Colosseum was also used to put on shows. They would actually flood the arena and bring boats in to put on mock sea duels and things of that sort. They also would do hunting scenes. Kind of sad, but they would bring in a great deal of animals and they would do live hunting on the spot. So an incredible amount of animals were killed in the Roman Colosseum. Every now and then animals would also be introduced into gladiator duels. This would be very, very rare, but it did happen. There were two layers in this red canopy you see up top. Would be used to provide people with shade in the stands. Throughout time, historians wondered how exactly did they get animals into the Colosseum in the middle of shows, and it is largely believed now that they used a form of an early elevator to do such, which is right here, and I will show you what that looks like underneath the Colosseum, because below the Colosseum surface were chambers for gladiators to stay, chambers to hold animals, a great deal of tunnels. You'd have a water pipe system which led into the Colosseum to allow for flooding when they needed to do it. It was incredibly vast. It even had a passageway which led to Palatine Hill, where the emperor lived. So, let's go back where we came in. By the way, plebeians were Roman citizens who had less money, whereas patricians were Roman citizens who had a great deal of money. So this was meant to be like maybe patricians could sit in a fancier location, kind of like the emperor. Okay. So the gladiators would be basically locked into the Colosseum. There was no fleeing once an event began. You would simply lose your life if you chose that route. This passageway leads all the way to Palatine Hill, where the emperor lived. is access to the Emperor's press box. And this is kind of the space between the Colosseum and the outside of the Colosseum, where maybe they would have bathrooms and a place where Roman citizens could buy food and things of that sort. This leads down into animal chambers and prisoner barracks. Where's this go? Oh. Like I said, there's a massive system of underground tunnels. Again, you have animals in cells down here, and they would just escort the animals from their cells to the elevator and activate it to pull them back up into the Colosseum, like that. Again, you can lock them in. That would take us up to the second floor. Got all the statues around. Other animal entrance area. Gladiators. This would be like a prep room before events. They would do multiple gladiators sometimes at once, like teams of gladiators dueling each other. And this exists on both sides of the Colosseum. Of course, they come out, hear the crowd roaring before their duel. Pretty amazing architectural build by the ancient Romans, but unfortunately its use was pretty horrific, really. Although it's one of the most popular tourism sites to this day, because it really is just magnificent. So anyhow, that concludes a mini tour with some description of the Roman Colosseum. Women were not typically admitted into the Colosseum, just like they typically wouldn't have been gladiators. There were a few female gladiators, but the games at the Colosseum were intended to be primarily for men. Whereas one of the other most popular pastimes, horse races, at the most famous horse track, the Circus Maximus, were intended for all Roman citizens, males and females. And the chariot riders, they were actually chariot horse races. The chariot riders would be pulled by anywhere between 2 and 8 horses. 2 was the most common, but the more horses that were added to the races, the harder it was for the chariot rider to control them, which made it more dangerous. The chariot riders would also carry a knife, or ride with a knife, in case their chariot crashed and they were getting dragged by horses or something. They could cut the rope. Very, very dangerous. As you can see, we've made our track a little dangerous as well, with the fire and jumps, things of that sort. Here's a chariot rider. There were 4 teams, so sometimes, just like modern day car racing, sometimes there would be multiple chariot riders on the same team in a race together. So they would have a red team, a blue team, a green team, and a white team. And fans would kind of pick their favorite team and vote you know, maybe bet on them or something like we do today. So, very popular place to go to, and clearly has influenced the world in many ways, as we still have a ton of horse racing in today's society, just like we have sports arenas all over the world, like the Colosseum. A last popular pastime was to visit public baths. While there were a decent amount of public baths in Rome, roughly around 10 at most times, there were thousands of private baths where people could pay more and enjoy without having the entire community there. But the baths were, many of these baths were very, very elaborate, just like today's private bath facilities, where they would have many different pools and baths, such as hot baths, warm baths, cold baths. Roman citizens visiting a bath for the day would probably start, much like we do nowadays, sit in some sort of sauna to heat up. Then they might get a massage. Then they would probably rotate through different baths, or the massage might be the thing that they do last. I don't really know, but they would start in a hot water, move to a warm water, and finish the day off with a cold bath, which is supposed to be good for you. So you can see we had some heating systems down here. Slaves, unfortunately, would often work in this area, and it wouldn't be uncommon for them to pass out as the heat was very, very intense in the furnace areas. Got a sauna to get your muscles all loose. I know that somewhere on this facility there's massage rooms, perhaps up here. Yep, massage rooms with your own little bath. So anyhow, just like today's fancy baths in many regards, this was a fantastic pastime. Due to the incredible number of slaves and prisoners in ancient Rome, many people actually struggled to find jobs. So there had to be pastimes to keep people busy, such as public baths, events at the Colosseum, horse races at the Circus Maximus, and that was how they tried to control their population and keep things relatively calm and not overly violent. But anyhow, hope you enjoyed this brief tour of some fun pastimes in ancient Rome, and until next time.